Welcome to the Natural Genius podcast. We're here to help you tap into your natural genius. Let's go. What struck me when I first met Fiona was that she has turned being a connector into a career. She described a moment where she met an HR person looking for work, and then within hours she met the employer who was looking for an HR person, connected the two of them, and the person was employed. I find that she can describe many stories like that, and it's just remarkable. A lot of us that are connectors do it as a sideline, and Fiona does it day to day. She is a really lovely person to be around. She's got a lovely, uplifting way about her. She describes herself as a strategic planner, a regional community development person, a facilitator, a master networker, and a relationship broker. I hope you really enjoy hearing from Fiona. Fiona, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to the Natural Genius podcast.
Thank you. Good to see you.
It's just so fun to know of each other only a short while ago, and then to be in conversation. I really, as I said, thanks so much for your time. When I was looking at your background, I was like, you've turned being a connector into a career, which I feel like that's quite rare to be, like, for that to be one of the strongest aspects of your work. Tell me how that came to be, because I noticed that you'd done ag science and rural community development. Yeah. And more recently, I want to hear also about the Masters in Business and Empathy that you've done.
So I grew up on a farm in East Gippsland, and I'm the first one in my family to go to university. My parents are both migrants, and I remember in year 10 we had to do work experience, and I remember Dad saying his accountant charged way too much money, but what I heard was he earns way too much money, and I went, that's what I want. So I did work experience with the accountant, and it was in the old days before computers, which sounds really depressing because I'm not that old, but, you know, the big ledger books that were, you know, like really big. So I sat down with one of them and had to do something, and I knew within the first hour that accounting was not for me.
Not for me.
Not for me at all. But I continued on for the rest of the week turning up for work, and then I realised I needed to do something outside, so chose agriculture. And it's two sort of really profound foundational experiences that I had. One was doing agriculture, because you just had to study this breadth of subjects, because agriculture is all about crops and plants and animals and soils and finance and you know, so you get this foundational experience of thinking about sort of systems thinking and what's the interplay between the two, which was I'm so deeply grateful for that experience. And then the second experience was my first job was with the state government, and I was working on a project called Target 10, and it was based in the industry trying to improve. I think it was improving production by 10%. And they employed a lot of graduates, and they gave us a lot of professional development training because it was right across the state of Victoria. And so we got to, you know, I was working with people my age as well as older people who had a lot of experience, but this training in facilitation and how do you work with groups and how do you work with people was those two experiences were really powerful to set me up to what I've been able to achieve to date. So it's
amazing. And I love I love East Gippsland, so it's so sweet to hear a connection with that beautiful area. And I could relate to that, actually. When I studied engineering, I was lucky enough to be able to I did industrial engineering, which was kind of like a bit of a sampler box of all different kinds of engineering, but with a business management overlay. And I didn't realise that with ag that you would be doing business management again, but it reminds me of a fantastic, I think he was a farmer that I met years ago, And he gave me exposure to the fact that he was also a trader. Like he was running the land, but then he needed to make sure he had internet. And this was a couple of decades at least ago, so that he could check his prices and run the business. And that really opened my eyes to what you've just explained about the breadth of that. And so tell me more about being a connector and what you've been lucky enough to do. So you had facilitation skills early on, and maybe a natural way of being able to build rapport and connect with people and look out for their development or team development and business development.
Yeah, so that was interesting, because I went from working for the Department of Agriculture to being an animal nutritionist for a stock feed company, which again, I think it was a bit like accounting, because one day I realised I was sitting at a kitchen table on a farm, and I realised I didn't really care how much.
This is not me.
This is like whether there was enough magnesium in the diet of this dairy cow herd. But what did float my boat, like what really inspired me, was helping this farming family make decisions. And so that's when it clicked, and it went, I'm not meant to be doing the technical side of things. I'm meant to be asking the questions and facilitating and doing the helping people think. And I started my own business after that.
So Fee, how old would you have been when that was happening?
So I would have been 27, 28 when I started my business.
Gutsy. And do you think that you might have started your own business and had the courage to do so from the background in your family or the people around you, or what? Because not everyone starts businesses.
No, I don't know. It was just this. I really, it sounds terrible. I really don't care if there's like about the diet, but
I know, I love that bit, because it's great when we get indications that this is not it.
Yeah, and then I suppose I'd been in a network of people who did have their own business as facilitators, and I thought, well, if they can do it, well, then I can do it. So just started. And I think I have this tendency to like I just go, I'm going to do that, and just jump in and then paddle as fast as I can, going, shit, what have I done? But anyway, and then
does it become successful and you move on to the next thing eventually? Or tell me what it does. Yeah. Oh gosh, how fascinating. So, and then tell me what happened next, Faye. So did you work in strategic development? Is that the sort of work that you did?
Yeah, strategic, helping groups and families and community groups and industry groups have strategic conversations, develop strategic plans or project plans and that sort of thing. So I did that for about 15 years while I got married. I was about 28, I think, when I was married, and then we've got 3 kids. So when they were little, did that, and it was great because it was quite flexible and
of course.
Yeah, so that was really good. And then I needed, because they were getting into secondary school and there's a lot more structure, so I needed a more of a job where I knew that I was going to be at work from these days and that sort of thing. It didn't really, like, we had no family around us from both my husband's side and my side. So, I needed a bit more support, so it had to be a bit more structured. So I've gone on I ran the community leadership program called the Fairly Leadership Program locally. I was the volunteer manager for the Greater Shepparton Lighthouse project. So I managed 500 volunteers, connecting them in with kids and schools and kids projects.
Is that all, Fee? 500? What next? Keep going. This is just charming.
Yeah, and so I think it was probably about that point where I came I'm starting to honour my skill of connection, of being a connector. And it's really easy to say your skill set, you're a lawyer and your analytics and you can negotiate and you can advocate for someone and that sort of thing. Or you're an accountant, so you're your analytics and your numbers, and you can see spreadsheets and stuff like that. It's really hard to describe being a connector, but it's the way my brain works. I just see connections and I just go, oh, I know who you need to talk to progress that idea. And it's and so I'm just more and more in the last probably say 8-10 years have been honouring that and leveraging it.
Leading with that too. Because you and I are similar in that respect. We've worked in systems design, strategy, and connected a lot of people. And I wonder if quite a few people that work in systems design might be like that. I don't know. You're the first person I've met that has really led so obviously with that connector word. Oftentimes in my experience, it's on the sideline. Like as you just said, I'm a lawyer, and I also, and people just know that lawyer, that they're a connector as well. And so it's not usually the lead. But when you and I first met and you talked about the HR person that you met, and then within moments you actually had found the employer that needed that HR person, and you talked so graciously about how often that happens. So that's just such a powerful skill, Fee. And also from what you've just described of the different initiatives you've worked on, there's so many ripple effects that you've created. And as a connector, I imagine there's a real zing that you get from being able to connect those people.
There really is. And that's what drives me. That impact of, and you never know whether it's one conversation or it's introduction to one person, and just also it was interesting. I was talking to my daughter's boyfriend who's just graduating from university and wants to get into commodity trading and stuff like that, and I said, oh, you need to talk to a friend of mine that I went to uni with, and then he said, yeah, but what do I say? Like, and it just comes natural for me. Well, you just ask, and he said, yeah, but so anyway, I said, oh, well, the way I'd approach it would be just tell him a bit of your background, highlight these skills that you've got, and then just say, what do you think? Who do I need to talk to? Where do I need to go? Do you have any, know of any openings? And it's like, for me, it's as easy as that. But for him and for lots of other people, it's like so foreign.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Fee, tell me about, let's go sideways for a bit. You were telling me about your son's dear friend and how you ended up by raising $100,000 just kind of pretty naturally by the sounds of things for Bella. Can you give me a little context, and especially for people that don't know anything about it?
So I worked with Bella when I was working for the Lighthouse Project. She was a gorgeous woman, and she just had this beautiful ability to work with young people, and particularly young people who are doing it tough, and had this way of building them up and supporting them and nurturing them. And Bella, it was at that time where I was separated from my husband, and my eldest son was still at school, and he was like huge gamer, and which drove me insane. And he'd come to my office to do homework, and he'd basically sit on the kitchen table out the back and game. And I was ready to throw his laptop from here kingdom come, because I hated it. And she said, you know what, he's a really good kid and he's really smart. And I mean, and fundamentally I knew that, but this gaming really stuck. Like, was the
pebble in your shoe.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, fast forward, and Joe and I really did struggle for a few years. And anyway, fast forward a few years, he finished school during COVID,
right?
So it didn't go so well. Had a couple of years of faffing around, and then he has now studied cybersecurity.
Mm-hmm.
And he's working in IT and cybersecurity and kicking goals and living in Melbourne and living independently, and he's just a great young man. And it's all not all, it's a lot because of Bella and the way that she really believed in him and really supported him. And there wasn't even, she didn't spend every day with him. There were just touch points where she just built him up. Anyway, Bella a couple of years ago was pregnant and delivered her baby, and they found out that she had a terminal cancer at that time. And she died, I think it was 18 months later. But to honour her, and for the impact that she had on Joe and so many other young people, I wanted to set up a scholarship in her name. So there's a great scholarship program around Greater Shepparton called the Liftoff program, where businesses and people provide a scholarship every year. I think that we're up to about 15 or 16 scholarships a year for young people. So I thought I want to do that. And usually these businesses provide $3,000 or $5,000 every year. And I thought, well, I don't know what I'm going to be doing in 5 years' time, or let alone 20 years' time. So I thought, well, if I raised $100,000, put that money into a trust, and then the interest was devolved as the scholarship, then, happy days. And it was a perpetual scholarship. So anyway, I raised $100,000. I went to her and I said, I've got this. She was there with her husband, Mitch, and Saf, and I said, I've got this idea because I want to honour you. And she said, no. And then, no, I don't need that. And then she turned around and she said, oh, fuck it. Yeah, let's do it. And I went, oh, okay. So this is really now real, and I have said it out loud, and I need to do it.
So have you done that a few times in your life? Like, blah, 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 and then you've got to rewind those words, and then you're like, can't rewind these words.
Yeah, I've done it. I've done it a few times. I've done it where I've had an offer to do aid work, and I've said to a few of my friends, oh, I've got this offer to go and do aid work, like overseas. What do you think? And they're like, yeah, well, why wouldn't you do it? And anyway, so anyway, the thing about the Bella scholarship was, I was pretty nervous because $100,000 is a lot of money, but I wasn't talking about me. I was talking about Bella. I was talking about the impact that she had with young people, and lots of people had that experience of working with her and being around her. So it was all about not me. I'm just the enabler of it. Yes. And some people donated $20, some people donated $10,000. And it's easier when it's about someone else.
Oh, well said. I did a similar thing for a smaller amount for a friend who was dealing with stage 4 cancer, and she said a similar thing. Oh no! Oh fuck it, let's do it. And I think for you to have experienced that with Bella, it's a great moment of self-empowerment in so many other micro moments through those experiences towards the end of life of not feeling as empowered. And tell me more. So tell me about some of the recipients and what's come from having
Well,
done that work?
once when Bella had died, I saw Mitch, and he said, "I'm really pleased that she said yes, because we now get to talk about her every year." And Mitch and Bella's father Gary and Saf come to the graduation ceremony, and when the recipients are given their scholarship and their award, which is just delightful, and we get to talk about Bella again and the impact that she had. So,
Oh, Faye. And also in this world, to be able to talk to a role model who was so illuminating and so uplifting
yeah,
to people, that's Bella having left her mark, isn't it? And as you say, being able to talk about her and also her characteristics, that sounds so remarkable. Fee, tell me about, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, so there's been two recipients. One's a young girl from a small town in the Greater Shepparton area, Murchison, and from memory, she was studying journalism or marketing or something like that. So, and by chance, she'd actually worked with Bella as a young person on a youth project. So there was a beautiful connection there. So that was the first year. And then the second year, this year, is a young guy. He's the first in his family they're from, I don't know whether it's Afghanistan or somewhere, a country like that, or Iraq. And he's going to study medicine. And he's going to follow the rural pathway. So he's studying biomedicine in Latrobe at Bendigo, and then he's coming across to Shepparton to study at Melbourne Uni to finish off his medical degree.
Wow. And Fee, speaking of studies, you've done your Masters of Business and Empathy, which I must admit I did actually look at that when Small Giants advertised it a while back. So tell me how that was, because it's such an interesting combination.
Yes. So I hadn't studied technically, what do you call it? When I hadn't studied for a while, since I've been working, and I wanted to do my Masters, but there was something about an MBA that didn't quite fit with me. It's hard. I sort of feel things rather than being able to say what the words are, and so an MBA wasn't right for me. And a girlfriend that I studied with at doing agriculture, she's a great regenerative dairy farmer in Maffra or in Newry, in East Gippsland, and she'd done the Masters of Business and Empathy through Small Giants. And she said it was a really powerful experience. It really got her to think. She met amazing people, and so, I didn't want the MBA for a ticket for the certificate. I wanted it for the experience and to be challenged to think differently and to be exposed to different, and which is what it gave me. And it's all about. So it's not just about the economics of how do we make decisions and projects, and it's about how do we look after our people while also looking after our earth, while also being able to make money and live financially. And so it's that balance, and it's the questioning of those really big questions of like, how much is enough? What does enough look like? And what does that mean then to people, to our communities and to the environment around us? And we got introduced to people from around the world, and beautiful conversations and challenging. And the other thing that I loved about it, our cohort was from around the globe. And there's about 50 odd of us, and probably 2/3 were from Australia and a third from overseas. And we had we had Jane, who was a ceramicist from Tasmania. She was now not making ceramics for people, but making ceramics for scientists, marine scientists, to support their research projects. And we had other people who were deeply involved at a very high level in the climate change movement. And we had investment bankers who had portfolios of hundreds of millions of dollars. And we had people who worked with First Nations communities. And so we just had this rich diversity of people and their backgrounds, but they were all interested in these deeper conversations about how do we still live and like make money, and not make money for making money, but then to live, but how do we look after our people? How do we look after our environment? And so, yeah, it was
become more integrated. Those exhilarating moments of being able to be around diversity or people across the globe in a well-curated leadership experience is just amazing. I was lucky enough to be chosen to be part of the Queen's Trust, now the Foundation for Young Australians, and I did this week-long experience at Sydney Uni, and 100 young Australians came together. I think you had to be sort of maybe 20 or 25 to 30. And you can imagine the different roles that turned up. And the way that the program was set up, Fee, was that it brought in some homeless kids, it brought in an economist, and it sort of was this roller coaster of emotions. Was speckled with workshops of us trying to work out the vision for Australia or the mission for Australia, and in groups of 8 or 10. And it was so, we were weeping, we were like bonding, we were standing on tables on the last night singing the Australian anthem. And even just recently, I've been in an environment that's been very diverse, and it is such a pleasure to sit in that diversity.
Yeah.
Gosh, Fee, that just sounds incredible. And I wonder also, at the time, were you coming in as a self-declared connector as well?
Yeah, it was. And also for me, it was, I think, one of the things that I really had to work on, because I've always been regionally based, and I don't want to work in corporate. I want to be regionally based, and work with community. Is how do I value me when you've got all these other big players, and where's my worth and where's my contribution? And so that certainly...
Oh gosh, Fee, of all the different people I've met in the world, you are just such a contributor. I think that's so interesting that you might have been, and also that you're working on your confidence around that.
Yeah, so that was powerful to see, because I want to add value and I want to add impact. And the narrative is often you've got to go to a metro setting to be someone. Well, you know what? There's lots of someones in regional and rural and settings that do powerful work too.
Gosh, yeah, and that's part of the fun of seeing so much remote work rise up since the pandemic and beyond. I have always had this lovely vision of being able to work with a diverse group of people across the world, smart humans, that we're a task force that does come together from, it's just the unique skills that are needed rather than needing to dress up in a suit and go into a physical location. Yeah. So tell me about your latest venture. Let's get into that.
So I have left my last job. Well, I was made redundant, so that's was actually a blessing. And I've been talking with a couple of friends who have now become colleagues, and we've been talking about this issue for the last 2 years. And earlier this year, we thought, well, we either need to shut up about it and go and do our job, or we need to actually do something about it. So the universe has conspired, and we are doing something about it. So we have set up a business called ClickWork, and we are addressing the disconnect between regional job seekers, generally school leavers and graduates, and regional businesses. And so where our role is being the bridge or being the connector between those two worlds. And so we're starting off in Shepparton in the Goulburn Valley, in northern Victoria, and we're going to pilot it there. And so so the two don't really understand each other and don't communicate so well with each other. So there's businesses who do amazing things here, like big businesses, small businesses, but they don't promote themselves very well. Kids don't, I should say school leavers and graduates don't understand the jobs, and job titles nowadays are so confusing. Like, they don't actually say what the job is about. So working with those businesses to promote themselves and to potentially do things like design work experience programs for them, internship programs, and so that it really suits the need of those businesses. So rather than a cookie cutter approach, it would be whatever's going to work best for them. And then on the flip side, working with job seekers to support them with career coaching, because there's what I'm noticing is that there's kids who understand what they want to do. They know, I want to be a builder, I want to be an electrician, or I want to be an occupational therapist or a doctor or an astrophysicist. So they're really clear, and school is supporting them really well to go, okay, you do this, you do this. There's a cohort in the middle who are ambitious, they're smart, but they just have no idea where to start. They just
options.
Yeah, and I have a conversation with a friend of mine, and she and her husband are both been to university, and they're both really successful people in their work life. Yeah. And they've got their eldest daughter's really good at maths, and they said, go and be an engineer. And she said, yeah, but what's an engineer? Like, what do you do in engineering? So it's helping a person like that go, okay, well, let's break it down, and which part of engineering could you do, or might you be interested in doing? And so then also potentially connecting her and other young people like that to do some work experience with an engineering firm to go, it would look like this, and then she could go, oh yeah, great, let's go, or oh my God, this is not for me, I need to think about something else. So sort of career coaching, supporting people like that. And then the other one is what I'm hearing is the number of young people who are not job ready. They find it really hard to pick up the phone or use the phone, and I noticed that with my own children. You ring them and there it goes through to message bank, which they don't listen to your message, I've worked out. And so you text them and go, I need to talk to you about this, this and this, and they'll pick the phone up and go, okay, rightio, let's talk.
So Fee, you have completely delighted me. Tell me what job ready means. It's not just, so it's phone calls, like picking up, receiving phone calls, or actually calling out, or tell me more. It's not just phone though.
No. So it is small talk. How do you do small talk? How do you not sit in the lunchroom on your phone when the rest of your colleagues are there, that like all sitting on their phone?
Oh my gosh, babe.
Okay, you can observe it. You see the people working on job sites on the side of the road, like they're fixing roads or whatever, and then it's lunch break or smoko, and they all sit there on their esky and they're all like this on their phone rather than talking. And it's fine to be on your phone. Like, I don't begrudge people doing that, but you don't sit in a group with your phone, because that's go and sit somewhere else, and so that you.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
And so tell me, sorry to interrupt. So tell me, was that something that the two of you had talked about in the last couple of years, or is that something that's unearthed? Is this job ready aspect something that you've unearthed since you started your business?
It's something that I've observed, but also every time I've spoken to a business person, they've just said, and kids are not ready to start to work. There's one that turned up for a job, and he was going to be offered an apprenticeship in the security and electrical, like cameras, the whatever business they do cameras and security, and he sat in the boardroom with the business owner, and he was on his phone for 20, a minute and a half. And then the guy said to him, "Oh, sorry, I'll let you go because I'm taking up your time." And he goes, "Oh, what? We haven't even talked." And he said, "Yeah, because you've sat there on your phone, so you're clearly not really interested." So so what I want to do, or what we want to do, is build their confidence, build their capability, and help them understand culture, the culture of the organisation, or how do you actually turn up for work?
Build their awareness. Yeah. Well done,
because
amazing. And sorry, and to also tell me about, while we're talking about the new venture, tell me about technology and the role that plays, because to be able to scale and do a lot of the things that you're talking about, you want to be able to reach many.
Yeah. So our dream, our inspiration is to pilot this in Shepparton and build this connection and this community of so that young people are inspired, whether they want to come back to Shepparton. So go to uni, and for lots of young people in Shepparton, they do need to go away. But there's so many opportunities to come back to. And we want to replicate this around the country. So have regional cities connected with clickWork, because we've got regional businesses who are promoting themselves and have opportunities for school leavers and graduates. And we have young people who are ready to work because they've got the confidence, they've got the capability, they have got a bit of an idea of where to start their career. So often my understanding is that young people think about, oh, well, I need to pick a career like, let's say, accounting, and I'm an accountant or a pharmacist for the rest of my life, where that's not the case. So it's thinking a bit about the long term, but thinking about your first job, going, okay, well, just start your career being an accountant, and then you never know where it's going to lead. And take those skills with you, because so many skills are transferable. And also then your inspiration, it changes over time, and you do something different. So what we want to do is work with technology and to be able to replicate this around the country. And so that's probably where I'm good at connecting the people and making good things happen around me. But how do you create that feel and that value leveraging an online platform? So that's the challenge for us. And then who knows, eventually maybe, you start in Shepparton as an occupational therapist and you end up working in Rockhampton because, you want to explore Australia, or you want to be a bit adventurous, but you still want to leverage your skills, and we can connect you up with an OT business in Rockhampton or, Bunbury or wherever, and you can go and live your life around Australia.
Yeah. And also I wonder with both Fairly leadership as well, the programs, and as well as the Small Giants Masters that you referred to and other things that you've done, you might have seen online forums and community connections happening through creating, Facebook pages or communities or whatever. So that aspect of it sounds fun too. I can imagine somebody going, woohoo, don't know, day one of a new job, and I chatted to someone in the lunchroom.
Yep. Yep.
And then that can inspire others.
Yeah. That's what I'm hoping. And so the focus for ClickWork is all about regional job seekers and regional businesses. And we'll certainly support and encourage metro graduates to come into a regional setting, but it's about building this community and a thriving community or communities regionally.
Yeah, right. And should we do a shout out? Who do we want to attract into having conversations with you there, Fee? Who would you love to meet with throughout the wider region?
I would love to talk to any business who has an idea or has a problem that they might not be able to solve on their own.
Yeah.
And also young people who also have an ideas, because we're not the holder of all the answers, and it's that linking again. It's going, well, I've got this problem, and then they go, oh, I've got this problem. So how do we actually come together and create something? And then, so one of the other things in terms of building up young people's confidence and skills is, and I was thinking, it's really building this culture of community and how do we support each other. I was thinking, how do you dress for work? So we'd potentially run a masterclass of, well, this is how do you dress for work? What does it need to look like? And also, I did a great session with a woman. I had 3 little children, and all I was doing was wearing jeans and t-shirt, and I felt really not down, but uninspired. Anyway, so I had a session. My birthday present was I said I want a session with an image consultant, and she was brilliant. She helped me work out my shape and what clothes and things suit me best for my shape, work out my colours. And so now I just have this confidence to be able to just get dressed of a morning because everything suits me. So how could we add that as a module for building confidence of young people?
This is just blocks and blocks and blocks of self-empowerment and confidence. Well played. And
how do you manage your money? Like, I don't know whether they offer that at school, and my mum and dad certainly didn't have the skill set to teach me how do you manage. You sort of fumble your way through. So is there another module about how do you manage your money, and what are the things that you've got to think about, and how do you structure it, and things like that.
Yeah, wow.
So it's all about
so much support there, Fee. Do that, Fee.
About supporting young people to thrive in regional communities.
Yeah. Oh, that's just so exciting. What an amazing legacy the 3 of you are building and beyond. And I also love that you're talking about being very adaptable, Fee, like adapting to what the market needs, adapting to what young people, all the different ideas that might come up, and creating that and connecting people in, partners and collaborators, so that you can bring it to be.
So if anyone else is listening and they want to invest with us and help us build and design this, really interested to talk to people like that as well, because we need to get paid, obviously. Michaela's got a young family, and I've got university students that are quite expensive. Although they're really good. They do all have part-time. Well, the 2 of them still at uni have got part-time jobs, but they have.
Oh, well done, Fee.
Really.
I was saying to you before we hit record, I'm not too sure how we're going to get through all the different aspects of your amazing, all different achievements in your life. I've got a few more questions. What are you most proud of? And then I also want to hear about Shep Arts Festival as well. I feel like we might have missed talking about that so far.
What am I most proud of? I'm proud of there's a couple of things. I'm proud of the impact that I can have whether that be a small scale of a conversation. Like I chatted to a young girl like 8 years ago, and because her mother just didn't know how to support her to start her career. And I can't even remember the conversation, but I keep getting reminded from her about how well her daughter's doing, and it's because of that one thing that I said.
It's like Bella.
Yeah, exactly. And then, the fact that I could raise $100,000 with Bella, the impact that we have is really, really powerful. And so and our words matter.
And also, Fee, like, you're giving me goosebumps. Your courage, your discomfort that you pushed through to organise that. There might have been those moments where you were just like, oh, it's $100,000. How are we going to manage this? Or you may not have known different aspects of it, or it might have been like overwhelming at different stages. But your courage and your bravery and that beautiful madness to do an impossible thing, that's just so fun to kind of feel proud now about having done that.
And thank you. It's true. And last year, so I haven't travelled overseas for 30 years because my now ex-husband didn't want to travel overseas. And I went to Holland, where my mum and dad grew up. I'm the last one in my family to go and see where mum and dad grew up, which was a really powerful experience. And then I walked the Camino, so through Portugal and into Spain, and that was amazing. And then I had 10 days in Lisbon on my own, and lots of anyway, I never thought, I'm such a good girl. Like, I'm growing up being such a good girl. Anyway, I got a tattoo.
I was going to say, where's the conversation going now?
I got a tattoo, and it says, be audacious and content. So that's my motto now, is to be uncomfortable, and then so be uncomfortable and do audacious things, and then be content about how it's going to play out. Not to say you leave it and it'll play out. You still have to do the work to see how it goes, but be content with where it ends up, because you never know where it ends up.
Oh, what a great word. Audacious. Yeah. Have the audacity. Yeah. And like, when I loved how you described that idea when you mentioned it to Bella, that that moment where that sweetness of the idea comes in and you share it with someone, and then you're just like, uh-oh.
Yep.
And then you step into the audacity of it, or like, the bravery and being able to, I guess, trust that you're just going to try and see if that's going to work out.
And God, you meet the most interesting people, and you can have the most really joyful experiences.
Oh gosh. And what you must have experienced when you were in Portugal and Spain, and as you say, a profound experience in Holland as well.
Yeah. I'm very lucky.
And what an amazing conversation, Fee. Is there anything else that you want to bring up? I'm so pleased that we did a shout out before for ClickWork. It's just so exciting. I've got a really great feeling about you bringing all this to be.
Thanks. No, I don't have anything else to say. And if anyone wants to reach out, you'll put the contact details. I'd love to have a conversation and see where it could lead to. And even if you whoever's watching feels a bit nervous, be audacious, message me, and just let's chat.
Oh, go you good thing. I think sometimes to have that bravery to make contact is where dreams can come to life. I know that that's definitely my experience. Sometimes I have learned through many different experiences that people can always say no, but most of the time, if it's an inspired and truthful and sometimes passionate request,
Mm.
people say yes, and you're just like, well, somebody just said yes.
And and I'm probably giving away all my trades or some of my trade secrets, but
I think you've got plenty more, Fee. Keep going.
I can't. This is to be audacious and to be brave. So for me, I didn't want to write be courageous or brave because that just felt like what a good girl would do, whereas an audacious girl would just be a bit more risky or a bit more ballsy and just go, okay, you're going to do it. And I heard this, I wish I had remembered where I heard it, but I often start a request with any chance I could or any chance you could, and you break it down into something small. Like you don't ask for the world, you ask for a conversation, or you ask for a discount, or you ask for a change of date. And people go, oh, I could do that. And in 99% of the cases, people say yes to me. And you've got to think about it. It's not like you're asking for everything. You're just asking for something little. And then that little thing then can be sparked into something bigger.
Totally. And if you enjoy doing that little thing together, then maybe other things will be sparked from that.
Mm.
For some reason, what you just said reminded me of haggling in markets in Asia.
Mm.
And I never was that comfortable with the kind of haggling or bartering when you're wanting to buy something. And then something shifted for me where friends that were amazing at negotiating, they said, oh, Sammy, it's just about being having a lark, like having banter and having a joke with the other person. I remember being in a market in Beijing, which was amazing. And we had this whole aisle of the market. It was an enclosed market inside. And we had all the shop owners just laughing because we're like, do we, don't we? And, oh, too much. And we were over the top with it. And that is the human connection. And it is like boldly going in, audaciously going in to experience.
Yep. And not knowing what the outcome is and being okay with that.
Bea, you are an absolute delight. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
And thank you for answering my questions that were many and varied. And again, how cool at the Small Giants has done business and empathy. I just think that combination is just so wild. I'm so pleased that you did that and that you got to connect with all different people. And here's to the great success of ClickWork. You know that you've got me as one of your many cheerleaders. It's going to be a great success.
Thanks so much for your time. I've really enjoyed it too.
Thanks for listening to the Natural Genius podcast. Please share this with anyone who came to mind and visit us at naturalgenius.com.au. Thanks so much.